Thank you, Mrs. DeGraw. We will go ahead and call our meeting to order, and Mr. Burtonshaw will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Burtonshaw. The floor will be open for a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. The floor will be open for a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meetings.
Madam Chair, I had some corrections and Carrie and I couldn't get together. Do I make those now or
Do you want to get together
after?
We'll approve them with the amendments.
pending corrections?
Because they're just grammatic errors, correct?
Well, just some
Formatting and those kinds of things, so.
just some Mr. and Mrs. names.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
So.
Okay.
The floor will be open for that motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from the previous meetings, June 21 and June 27.
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Williams, your report.
Thank you. Just a technical thing, Mrs. DeGraw, if you could, on your screen for the board to see, just move that Zoom picture out of the way so the board will be able to see that screen here for you folks at home. You'll be able to enjoy it just as regular. So thank you, Madam Chair. It's July and I'm getting super excited for the upcoming school year because that's where all the excitement happens when the kids come back. Couple updates from the superintendent side. We met with all of our administrative team, our building principals and our admin assistants. Our secretaries are admin assistants because that's what we're going to be calling them moving forward. We met with them on July 7th to go over some protocols on starting the school year and getting a plan in place. I'll touch on the details of those a little bit later in the information section. Our continuous improvement plan, the plan for the district, I'm working on that. That's due October 1st. There are some new forms and reporting things that's also on the information side. I'll talk about that. But in the past, we've had a strategic plan and a continuous improvement plan. And those are two different terms that you'll see in state code that are required. In years past, the continuous improvement plan consisted of a literacy plan, a college and career plan. Those things have changed with some of those changes. And I think it lends itself in a way that we could take the goals from our strategic plan and tie them all into one. And so we'll call it the continuous improvement and strategic plan moving forward. So nothing's getting left out. It's just going to put them all together into one document, which should help with just our focus on saying this is where all of our goals are. These are the plans. These are the metrics that we're looking at.
So I suppose the state allows that.
The state will allow us to do anything we want to as long as we hit a certain amount of requirements on a checklist. So the plan doesn't have to look like what they have exactly in their template, as long as our plan has all of the indicators from their checklist that are required by statute. Good question. Yeah, good question. A couple highlights just from the community. We were able to open up the Hamer Elementary School for the youth during the 4th of July. Had a lot of gratitude and given at that time from the Hamer Lions Club and others that were with that. And so it went great. It was a wonderful event. And we're glad to be able to have that and help out. Another thing our school district is helping out with, St. Anne's Catholic Church. You may have heard that they had a fire at their historic building here in Mud Lake. And we've reached out to them and we've worked out an agreement for them to utilize the chapeltorium. So yeah, it works out perfect for it. So they will be using that on Sundays for their church services until they're able to get figure out what they're going to do, whether they rebuild or remodel on their building. They've been very gracious and thankful for that opportunity. If we do have any issues with, since we do use that auditorium, I know I joke and I call it the chapelatorium, but if we have any issues with programs, Christmas programs and things where we have the decorations up, St. Anne's will just use the gym for their services. And so they'll be flexible with us on that. Updates on our transportation department. The new bus should be coming in this next month. I was talking with Pincock earlier this week, and he said it wasn't in production a few weeks ago. And so they just put them in production, they build them and they send them. So that's exciting. They will be attending a state training in Blackfoot on August 5th. They'll be taking all the bus drivers down there. Our technology department is continuing with their fiber optic wiring projects, summer upgrades. They did get that ransomware purchased and installed from the last board meeting where we talked about that. So it is in and it's already installed with that. Maintenance and grounds had a few hiccups in the road with some of our lunchroom and art room remodeling. Just because of a couple of things that have happened and some staff members that aren't available to work during the summer, and also waiting for some of the outside contractors to finish work. It's going to be really close with a couple of these projects to be able to complete them all. Some of the products that we were trying to order in were all back ordered. And so Mr. Soderquist is doing the very best that he can, but it will work out. We'll start school regardless and just go forward with that. The food service, they had attended a couple summer trainings, went to Boise, and then they had a point of sale training here at the district that Mrs. Ward put on. A couple highlights from our schools. We did finish out our migrant and LEP summer school for the month of June. It was well attended, and everything went off well. The lunch services were provided during that time as well. And just appreciate our migrant and LEP staff, Mr. Orr, Mrs. Yamas, for all their hard work, and also Mrs. Ward working together with them to pull that off. And also with our bus drivers that were willing to drive during the summertime. We can't do it without our maintenance and bus drivers and our food service.
Did we have any other staff here teaching summer school? Did any summer school go on at all?
So right now, the only options that we had for other summer school were the tutoring. And so individuals that want to have that have the ability to reach out to teachers. I don't have a report on that as of yet, but I'll have numbers at the next board meeting on how that turned out. Extracurricular clubs, we've had some youth camps with the boys basketball and volleyball. High school football camp is going on, I think the last day is today. And then just around the corners, our Mud Lake Fair with our FFA. It's amazing how fast it flies. It just seems like yesterday we were in school and summer's here and summer's gone, and teachers are panicking to get their classrooms ready and parents are celebrating get the kids back into school. So I don't know. Upcoming events, parade August 12th and a back to school meeting August 19th for the school board. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Are there any other questions or comments the board has for me?
Andrew, are you gonna ride with me in the car again?
Yes,
You don't wanna walk 2 miles?
I could, so.
You know she could.
She wants to drive this time, Mr. Schmidt.
She wants to drive?
Yeah.
And even if it's the stick shift.
I think we'll drive the Aston today. This year.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mrs. Durant, do we have any public comment sheets? Right, we'll move on to consent agenda, and the floor would be open for a motion to approve that.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Okay. The scoreboard purchase.
Okay, I'll pull this up. So a group of parents got together and their children play on the softball team, and they wanted to raise money for the softball field. And so this was an effort by many parents, not just one or two, and also the community. The main ones that have met with Mr. Hadley and myself have been Janice Wilcox, Becky Meekum, Travis Johnson, but there's been a lot of others that have come in. Those were ones that just attended some of the meetings that we had here. And throughout the process, it was decided that the money would be raised for both the softball and baseball team. And so they raised the money through concessions at the district softball tournament, hosting an alumni softball baseball game, and also receiving other donations. Westmark Credit Union donated $4,500 to go towards both of those scoreboards. And so they'll have a logo placed on the sponsorship board for this generous donation. And we are really grateful for all of those that did that. And so since the district will be purchasing the scoreboards and the amount exceeds $5,000, that's why it's coming to before the board for an action item. Any donations above and beyond the amount for the actual scoreboards will be put back into field maintenance projects with that. So we do have a quote from Varsity Scoreboards. This is different than the scoreboards that we've generally gone with another company. This company also has a 5-year warranty, a remote option. It's, we went over the pros and cons of having the same one. We just felt like with the amount of the price on this one also comes with the scoreboard, but it also comes with them to imprint the sponsorship label. So we can say, this is what the sponsorship board should look like. Please have a West Jefferson logo here, Panther softball, and a Westmark logo here. And so we felt like this was the best way to go.
That's great. All right, the floor would be open for a motion to approve that purchase.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the scoreboards for the softball and baseball fields.
Second that.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Cross-country cooperative program, Clark County.
All right. We've had several other opportunities where we've had a athletic cooperative with Clark County. And cooperative is when a smaller school asks or reaches out to see if they can join forces and have their athletes take part in the group. Clark County School Board has met already, and they sent us this application saying, would you be willing to do that? And so just as part of this application process, West Jefferson School Board would need to approve that as well. And so the way that these generally work during the year is that these individuals will come and they will run the, there's two different types, and I'll pull up the application. They'll come and they'll participate with us. So this is a collective one, one or more schools. But when it comes to state and district competitions, they'll run as Clark County. And so represent. So basically it just gives them a chance to train, be part of it, be part of having kind of a home event. And so that's what they asked to do. And I think the last ones that we've been in have been very positive, and it's something that as a superintendent, I would encourage the board to approve.
So when they compete just in a regular meet, is that
They
the same?
they would
They'll be competing for their own school?
They would, during the regular season, how I understand it, is they would be counted as West Jefferson.
Oh, okay, so just for district and state, they'll be
Yes,
separate. Okay, I wasn't sure on that.
that's how I understand it.
Okay,
Don't they have a track? What's the problem? I mean, why would they want to do this?
Coaching.
Coaching,
right,
Oh,
can be coaching.
yep,
Do they know how many would be participating?
2 or 3 is what I heard.
Oh,
So it's just limitations.
Yeah, where they wouldn't, during the year they would, or during the district, they wouldn't be able to qualify for a team, but they might qualify as individuals. And I think they have different levels for that.
There's no further discussion. The floor will be open for a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the co-op with Clark County for the cross-country team for the 21, 22, and 22 and 23 school years.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Back to school plan.
Okay. So having a safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of service plan is a condition of receiving ARP ESSER funds for each LEA. That came right directly from the State Department, if you didn't notice. And so an LEA means each district. So all Idaho districts must have a safe return to in-person checklist and have it posted on their website. And so what I did is we took last year's quote unquote COVID plan and we moved it and it's called the Safe Return to Instruction. This plan that we're looking at today can be and will be modified. And so we do have a timeline to make sure that it's posted by August 2nd on there, but we will be discussing this during our PA meetings and also other meetings as we go forward with what is it. So the plan consists of a checklist, and that's a template that the State Department gave us. And the checklist just basically verifies that everything in our document, our school district plan, is in there or at least addressed. Nowhere is there anything that mentions that we have to do certain things. I know there's, when you look at social media, you look at some of the concerns of people with different views on both sides of the argument when it comes to COVID, vaccinations, masks, any of those types of things really get people fired up in a hurry. What our plan has is the same as last year. We want to make sure we're focusing on having students in person, following the safety protocols. If you're sick, we'll work with you. We want to balance it a little bit more though with not just having. We have to still have our attendance policy a little bit more stronger this year than it was last year. Not be as loose as if you're sick, just stay home. I felt like some people took advantage of that. And it's hard for us to really prove if they did or not. But that was just, we want kids to be coming to school. So some of the examples of this, I'll show you the checklist first. So this is what the checklist looks like. And it just shows that the back to school plan was approved by the school board. If it goes through here, we'll leave it. If not, we'll change it. But again, these plans are fluid and can be changed at any time. So that's why it doesn't feel like, oh, this has to be so static or so specific. It's flexible. It will be posted on our district webpage at this location. And it just asks, do we address this? So you look at where it says universal and correct wearing of masks. The LEA is not required to implement all the strategies, but the LEA's plan must include information about our policy for each strategy. So we do talk about masks, but this doesn't mean that it's a universal and wearing that we mandate it to everybody. Just because it says yes, but our plan does talk about masks are encouraged, masks are welcome. So that's where it does meet that criteria. We do talk about our facilities to allow for social distancing, hand washing, etiquette, cleaning and maintaining the facilities. All of these things are addressed in the plan document. As you can see, this is going to look really familiar, but it does say safe return to school plan instead of COVID plan. We still have our guiding principles. We want kids in school. That's what my recommendation is as superintendent. And again, I will, if the board chooses to go a different direction on that, I will support the board. But as a superintendent, that's what has worked well. That's what, as we looked at the plan that we did last year, I felt like our school board did a great job of adjusting to the different things that we learned as we went through an unprecedented time last year.
So is this is last year's plan that you're looking at now?
This is oops, looks like right there, I need to change that part right there. This would be the fall of 2021 contingency plan.
Okay, so this is a checklist.
There's two documents,
Right, there's two documents, and which one are, we're doing both of them?
both of them. Both of them consist of the plan. The document, this one here is one that is required.
Okay,
To
that's
have
the
one.
one that's going,
Yeah. We'll have them both posted on our website, but I can see on
you have
that,
to send that other one in
yes,
to get the money.
yes. And so if this is not completed, then we wouldn't be eligible for any of the ESSER money that we're required to backfill. So it's kind of, so it's good. It's, the things here, it's still local control. Everything that we're doing here, there's always been some concerns about, oh no, they're going to make us do this. They're going to make us vaccinate. They're going to make us, we're going to keep the exact same philosophies that we've had. We're going to encourage those things. We're going to educate about it, but we will not mandate those things.
And how do we feel about children getting vaccinated?
It's going to be a parent decision. It's
That's where it
this,
should be.
it's the same one. We're going to encourage it, but we will not go down the line of mandating it. I think we'll have a bigger fight on our hand if we thought masks were a big issue. Vaccinations are so much more intense when it comes to trying to mandate it for people.
So the mask will be kind of a voluntary kind of
They're
situation.
going to be, if somebody has tested positive or we have that contact tracing, we still will have in there that we want some people to follow to wear those masks. Those will be the only times that they're going to be asked to do it, but they're always welcome to. If they, and those are the things, if you feel like you've been sick or you're around it, those are things that you should be willing to do, because the masks just for everybody to have it, just to have it, that's, some people question that. But if you've been around somebody and you might be feeling sick, like, I'll use you, Mr. Schmidt, as an example. The one board meeting, a couple board meetings ago,
I felt sick, so
you had one
I
on,
had one on because I wanted to protect.
but you're a reasonable guy too, like.
You just gotta use common sense on this stuff.
Yeah. And so that's what we're doing, is following the common sense on that. There's really nothing we added differently as I'm looking at this one. We didn't have vaccinations on our radar last year, but vaccinations are on our radar this year. The district encourages individuals to be vaccinated, but recognizes that it is an individual decision. The district will offer vaccine clinics to take place at their facilities as needed. So we will, just like we offered the vaccine clinic in January and February, but we didn't mandate our teachers to get it. And so those are really the main differences in here. We still are allowing people to stay home if you're sick, but we want them to work with us, especially when we get into the secondary level, knowing that it has to also, we want people to know that if you're sick with possibly COVID, but if you're sick and you're saying, oh, I need to stay home, but I'm going to go hang out with all my friends and go do everything else, are you really sick? Like, we need parents to really work with us and help us with making sure that this is not being taken advantage of. So we can, as we look at this document in the next couple of board meetings or at any time, make any changes to this. So even though it's going to be proposed to be voted on today, we really can make changes as we go along. So there. Any questions or other comments with our safe return to school plan?
If not, the floor will be open for a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the safe return to school plan for the 2021-22 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about school board meeting times.
Okay. This is going to be all on you guys. I'll do whatever you. So the school board sets regular meeting schedules during the annual meeting, which is in January. Idaho code indicates that meetings shall be held monthly on a uniform day of uniform week as determined at the annual meeting. any change to this must be approved by the board and be communicated to the patrons. And so finding a convenient time for board meetings that allow board members and patrons to attend is difficult because everybody's schedule is so different. And even also our board members and your work schedules and family obligations are different. Many school leaders and or supervisors are unable to attend evening meetings. Traditionally, the only way to attend a meeting was in person only. And that's the one thing why I believe they have it in code is to say, okay, if it's going to be at this time, people can plan for it. But it doesn't, we reached out to ISBA, asked them, does it have to be at night? And they said, no, it just has to be consistent and regular. But we have been live streaming all of our board meetings since April of 2020. I know that's too much of your. Love it, don't we? But one thing that this has allowed, though, is individuals to watch it either live or in person. And our transparency at that time during where people couldn't come in because of COVID, I wanted to go in. I haven't had a chance to go in and look at our YouTube numbers on how many people have actually gone back and watched it. But we average around 40 to 50 people per board meeting that go back and watch it. For a district our size, that's really good. A couple meetings have been in the hundreds. You know, it just depends on what's on the agenda and how excited everybody is about an action item. But those are the things that I feel like this is an okay time for you as a board to discuss. Should we have a change? There's, like in the past, we did talk about in other meetings moving the time to 2 o'clock compared to 6 in the evening. Some of the things that came up during that time is it would allow for the board to meet for executive a little bit earlier than that. And during the school year, this may allow some parents to actually come and attend while their kids are in school and then pick up their kids afterwards, which might actually increase the participation at board meetings. But even if you couldn't make it in the afternoon, you still have the opportunity to view and see what happens. And honestly, any patron at any time could provide written public comment. They don't have to be here in person. If they wanted to write something that was given to the board and given to Mrs. DeGraw at that time, they still could. So, and board meetings aren't the time really for interaction between board members and community members. Those are more of the PA meetings for me to gather that information or other work meetings for that. So from the superintendent standpoint, I'm neutral on whether direction the board wants to go. Just for the board, as you guys are able to discuss it, this could be a proposed change to the remainder of the year. We already had our November and December meetings at 2 o'clock. To allow for us to be able to have the board hand out the holiday gifts. So I will step back and let the board discuss your guys' that.
Yeah, I have
And-
one.
and I'll go either way.
question, Mr. Superintendent. During the 2 o'clock meeting, there won't be a gym class in the gym. Will there? Because that's a distraction, you know, when the kids are bouncing the balls around and making noise.
We can make a note to that and find a different activity for them that one time a month.
Because I think we could probably do without that distraction, you know.
Oh, definitely.
We have these microphones in front of us now. Like we can get little headsets for us.
We
And
need headsets.
that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, because we've had meetings before and they're making a lot of noise.
Or
in
the
gym.
band.
Or the band, or cheerleader practice. So
As long as-
that's just a suggestion.
And I marked that out, as long as the weather's good, they'll be outside. So, and I know that there are times that Mr. Mackey has moved over to
The small
the gym.
the small gym, or even we could look at we could look at it.
Yeah.
We'll find a place. There's other times they've gone to the wrestling room
Mhm.
during that time.
That would be a nice option.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to work around. I like it for when we invite employees to come in and discuss things with us that we're not taking from their evening, from their family time. They can come in during the day and meet with us and
Well, also it's better family time for our board members. You have children, you want to be around them.
And our meetings usually go approximately 2 hours.
Mhm.
So school would be out at 3:30,
3:30.
and that's an hour and a half. Would your kids be waiting for you somewhere, or would that be inconvenient?
They're always welcome to go to the superintendent office.
Be in the gym.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, in the last year, our regular meeting has gone between an hour to an hour and a half. It typically hasn't been a full 2 hours. So.
Sure seemed like it.
Much
There
have been
I always
some
got home.
are some that have gone longer.
I always got home about 8:30 or 9.
I think the meeting in April that I missed went long.
I was thinking maybe 1 o'clock would be better, or 1:30, but maybe.
Like whatever you guys would like to. This would be the time to
So
make that.
would 1:30 be better than 2? So you got that 2 hours,
I don't know, what about you? with
2
kids?
hours before school gets finished and then the kids.
I don't want to be pushed, because Thursdays tend to be a day that we usually do lessons. And so I would rather start a little earlier than to be rushed at the very end, knowing that I gotta get out of here, that's, we've got to drive to Rigby for lessons or whatever.
Mhm.
So
So
I'm not
what's your
opposed to
suggestion
one-
on time?
I'm not opposed to 1:30.
1:30?
Executive session at.
Can we do executive session in a half hour?
Well, start at 1.
I
That
think that
just-
can vary.
That can vary.
Start at 1 o'clock.
It'd be nice to have at least 45 minutes.
So you can start.
So then that will give us,
Start at 12:30
no,
for executive session with the regular board meeting starting at 1:30.
Yeah. 12:30 or 12:45, but that's going to vary based on whether we have, because if we have a month where we don't have any new hires or personnel, generally we do, but most items, and if we had bigger situations, we would just meet earlier for an executive.
And on a case by case, you just let us know.
Yes.
So I think 1:30 would be better. That way we're done right at the end of school. That way no kids are waiting.
Okay. That's up to you guys. I'm totally okay with that.
If there's no further discussion, we'll be open for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion that we change the meeting time of the school board monthly meeting to 1:30, and we can start the executive session pending on what's needed in each individual session to 12:45 or 1.
Mhm.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We're driving in late.
Now Ned doesn't have to drive in the dark.
Alright. Okay. Camera system upgrades.
All right. So last month, I presented to the board an action item that was passed where we were starting the process into cameras. And as we were looking at these different options, we talked about possibly waiting to get the rest of that based on whether with the bond coming up. As I looked at the safety projects in the bond, door locks, internal communication systems, there's going to be a lot that will be able to go into safety even with our current bond. That I was visiting with Mr. Weeks, and we were wondering if there was a way for us just to get all of the camera money right now. They can take care of all of the cameras while they're pulling this fiber optic instead of putting in the 12 that we talked about and then coming back in and putting 40 in later on. And so as I sat down with Mrs. Bingham and Mr. Weeks, looking at the funds that would be available in the technology and or even the plant facility, we have funds available that we could purchase that and do it now and have it done before school starts. Currently, and this is in the description, I'm not reading it verbatim, but the camera systems we currently have only allow us to access the footage from one location in each building. So in the principal's office in both of the buildings is the only place you can view footage. The server room here and the server room at the main gym is the only place you can view footage for those buildings. However, with all the fiber optic going into all the different schools and all the buildings, we'd be able to have cameras in Hamer, in the Territon campus, this building, the main gym, that can be viewed remotely. So I would be able to pull it up on my phone anywhere that I'm at to access that. Our SRO would be able to have that. We only give the logins to the SRO and then to the admin to be able to access those. But our SRO and those guys would be able to also access it. As we're looking at it, the quote that for the Ubiquiti cameras is $41,000 for all of the cameras. We've already voted on 11,988 of that. And so they did have an estimate for labor and cable for 38,900, but this was coming back in later and also pulling that. So this number will actually be a little bit less, and that says it on the quote. They're expecting it to be a little bit less than that. So even if we use that number as the minimum, the total project will be 80,000, which we've already voted and moved on having 12,000 of that done. I really recommend that we go into this and do this now. I'm not a mechanic, but I know Mr. Schmidt works on the cars. This would be like going in, you have a transmission that needs to be replaced, but you go in and you do something else and just change your spark plugs, and then you come back in later and tear it all apart again.
It's not wise to do labor twice.
And this would allow us to be able to capitalize on that. So actually, we do save money by not having the labor done twice.
Another problem is inflation is hitting this country everywhere. If we don't do it now, it's probably going to cost us more later. An example of that was our bus. We could have bought it for $130,000. Our bus
Last year.
trunks out, now it costs $150,000.
Yep.
So it cost the district $20,000 more by not doing it at the time. So it's 80,000 now, or it could be 90,000 later.
Did you say this was from this year's budget or next year's?
It'd be from since we're in July, it'd be for this fiscal
There's
year.
still money, there's still money in there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Patty's comfortable with the money being there
Yeah.
for this project?
So you're taking some from,
So we're guaranteed to be able to take some from technology and some from plant facility. We have that available.
do you have any idea what is left after that? I was gonna look it up on the budget, I forgot.
We would still have, $50,000 or $60,000 available for this year's budget. This isn't going into and you have to remember, our plant facility also has the buffer of 200,000 that we just use as that basic emergency fund type thing. I think this would be one of those times that if we needed to go into that, we could use it. Other options could come up later on, potentially with as we talk about the ESSER and the ARP money that's going to be coming into the district, that might allow us to be able to use that in one area with an allowable cost from those federal funds that free up more funds for this. But it's too early for me to come out and say, I didn't want to have that as the main argument to come in and say, oh, we can do this and we're just going to be able to use the federal funds in a way that frees it up for this. I'm looking at our actual budget, it's there, but there's a chance that we wouldn't even have to go into that actual budget if some of the other monies could be moved around.
And you think that ESSER money is gonna have a lot of, how do you say it? Prohibitions to it.
Strings attached?
Yeah,
Yeah, they do have, and I'm learning still what those are. And that's why with the spending plan, I want to make sure that what we promised to spend the ESSER money on and the federal money on is an allowable use. I don't want to overpromise and come out early and say, oh, this is what we should use it for. But what we're finding is that there are times that some of the things that are allowable would have been spent from another place. But each, and I'm speaking in general terms because each ESSER money allocation comes with different strings that are attached. And when we talk about ESSER 2, the ESSER 2 money, what the discretionary money that was reduced from the legislature this last year, forces us to backfill things that would have been used with the regular discretionary money. And so you're asking the question, and it's a complicated process to follow because there are so many different strings attached to it. But if you're asking, is there a possibility that it could help with this? Yes, it could. But I don't want that to be, we still have funds available with what we currently have without using that for this project right now. And we feel really good about it, that it has to be done, even if it is something that we dip into our plant facility. We will talk about the bond, but we can't wait for the bond to happen on this. And there are other safety things that need to be addressed with the bond money.
Well, that is a wonderful thing to have in place, this security.
Yeah.
What's the timeline for something like this? Is this something that we're waiting for 6 months, or how soon?
So they're waiting for us
to
to make a decision. They have, I think, 90% of the material already in. We might be waiting on a couple of what they say in the quote, on a couple of the storage item places. They'd be waiting for those, but they have most of them in, and they are planning on being back the first week of August into the buildings to start. So they'd be able to work on this, and more than likely it will be done by the beginning of school, if not by potato harvest. So it will be that's why all of these things to be able to take advantage of the company having that, we have the group that's coming in to run the wires, and Ubiquity is one of the parties that they work with. I think we want to capitalize on having them in our building and taking care of it while they're here, because a lot of times we found it's hard to get the laborers back in to do that.
So I'm hoping the laborers that they hire will be
They
acceptable to be around the school district, right?
well, it's their main people. Yeah,
Okay.
they'll have it in, and most of the work, if not all of it, should be done before. They were here last week, and I met the owner of the group that will be coming and doing that. And they do it. We've done a lot of business with them before in the past with the other things.
So is the wire included on this? I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So some of the wiring, the fiber optic wiring, has also been included from the E-rate. So we've had the E-rate projects that pull this in, but so if you think of the fiber optic wiring is the main highway, then they come in with different hubs, so to speak. And so each classroom is going to have a hub where future technology devices can be put onto that. And some of these are really exciting that would go, and we could, with the bond conversation, we have the opportunity with this fiber optic to really, and also with our interactive TVs in each classroom, to really have some state-of-the-art things entered into it that would help both with safety and with the actual instruction of the students. And so those are things that as we look at with this project, this is laying the groundwork for it, but we don't have enough to do all the different things that we would need a bond to be able to complete all of it, but we do have enough to do the cameras right now.
questions or any further discussion? Not the floor be open for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the camera system upgrade purchase.
Second,
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we've got a copy of Idaho Code here.
So this is, Madam Chair, just during the information discussion, this came out of the Slate magazine. Just wanted to use that as a way to also just highlight all of the responsibilities that our volunteer board does, and just to say thank you for everything that you've done. Jody Hendricks is the ISBA president. ISBA, for those that are listening, stands for the Idaho School Boards Association, which our school board members here at West Jefferson are members of. And there's a lot of different things. We've had training in the past from ISBA that went over each one of these individually. One of the things I wanted to highlight, and one of the things I learned from that training when we had that, is when you look at code, some of these things make it look like the school board members should be jumping in and doing a lot of the day-to-day work in a district, especially when you look at like number, like we're not going to have Nedra come and sit at the office and enroll the school-age children. A lot of this is done through policy and procedures. One indicator is they say that the school board is looking at their responsibilities from the 30,000 foot mark, and it's their job to say, this is how it should be, go get it done. And a lot of things are in Idaho code already that we can't change. When you look at number 12, supervise and regulate extracurricular activities. I need Willie to come help me at the basketball games, chase the kids out of the bathrooms and
Out of the
hallways.
wrestling room.
But that's not what it is. When from our training, we are taught that the school board hires a superintendent. The superintendent has the administrative staff, and it's our job to take care of the details. But it's really from a governing standpoint from the school board. But I don't know. I wanted to say thank you to our school board for everything that you've done this last year. When you look at number 4, protect the morals and health of the students. We never knew that we would be talking about pandemics, and in number 7, excluding the kids with contagious infectious diseases. We have the local control to do a lot of things. We also have the protection from the legislature to have the ability to do that. So I don't know. Any thoughts that you guys had on this since it's an information discussion? I just wanted to bring it up as something to say thank you to you guys.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for wanting to hold school last year. There's a lot of states, a lot of school districts let the kids stay at home. I'm glad we're on top of it where we can insist on having the kids in school.
That's true. I just think that there were a lot of new things that we had to learn and do. And I really appreciate you, Mr. Williams, and your leadership, because without you, I'm not sure how well any of this would have gone this last year with COVID. And it was a great learning experience for you to come in and have to deal with something like that. But as long as we're thanking people, I have to thank you for. I slept well at night because I knew you were not.
I'm glad somebody was. No, we've learned a lot, and I think our board can be proud of the way that we've handled ourselves through a really challenging time, as we've seen on some of the news sources and some of the things that we've seen with recall efforts towards board members, and just having the consistency and the willingness. And when we haven't agreed, you can look back at all of our voting records if that's what you look at. We don't always agree on everything and have differences of opinion, but I appreciate how this board has really been respectful and and willing to just, represent their communities and the school district the best that they can. So
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Carrie, Mrs. DeGraw has given us a copy of the 5,000 series. This will be our first reading.
So this is one where I just wanted to bring it up. I don't want to get into a lot of details today, but I will propose that we have several work meetings. The 5,000 series is pretty extensive, as you can see, and we've printed out so the board members can have these at home. But we've highlighted in yellow those policies that are required by law to have. And as we've talked about, the ones that are white are ones that are just sample ones that ISBA has put out. We've looked at a couple other school districts just to see what they have besides the required ones, and those are highlighted in blue. So I'm inviting our school board members to start the process of going through this, looking at it. Again, this is going to be on our website, so we can get feedback from patrons if they have thoughts and ideas on policy. That's the one thing that as we look at with the school district, as school board members, that we need to put these things into place. And so, since this is the first reading, I don't have anything else to highlight except look at the ones that are that we have required, the ones that other districts have had, and then look for ones that maybe we feel like we need to have in our district as we're going through this rewrite process.
Mr. Williams,
Yes, Mrs. DeGraw.
as a note, the ones in white, sometimes we don't have to put them in policy because they're part of law, or they're part of code of ethics for the teachers, or they're already part of our procedures. So I don't want you to look at that and go, oh, well, if we don't put it in policy, then we're not gonna know we're not gonna be required to report abuse. No, our teachers are mandated reporters, and they have to report that, and that's part of their code of ethics.
So it goes back to the procedures versus administrative procedures, which still need to come before the board once we have those finalized, and board members can ask us about the procedures. It just doesn't follow the same process as policy.
That's what I have a hard time with. I have a hard time separating.
Procedure versus policy.
Right. I like everything in policy, but I'm beginning to think that's not necessary after, listening to what you say. But when I look at things, I think immediately, oh, we should have that in policy, but like drug and alcohol abuse and all that. But I wish there were a clear-cut way.
And as I've read through the different rewrites at different times, sometimes I feel like there are two numbers that are almost the identical. They're saying the same thing. And I'm thinking, why do we need two of them? And part of it is because with this ISBA support, as they're helping us rewrite, they give us everything and the kitchen sink. They say, this is everything we have to offer because that's a service that we've paid for them to do that. But I can see exactly what you're saying, because you're going, oh, maybe we really should have this.
Well, you look on the second page, for example, and you see family and medical leave highlighted, but not any other kind of leave. And I'm thinking, why?
Well, so a lot of those are already in the master agreement.
How do you know?
Well,
Did you approve the master agreement?
Where is it? Where?
And I can get you a copy of the master agreement if you want that.
No.
The reason family and medical leave has to be in policy is because of the way that law was written.
Okay. So I don't feel comfortable in bringing any of the white forward because there are all these extenuating circumstances.
You can. You
We
can,
bring it forward, or we can look at it as a
and I think when
board
we
and you guys can discuss it.
when we get to our work meetings, I think you should bring them forward. Like, you should look through and say, okay, why don't we have this? And then, because there could be something that I missed previously as going through that, but it's also, these are, with the board looking at it, and then my administrative team working at it, and then crossing referencing and looking at the notes, that's how we make sure we get what we need to.
All right.
Nighttime reading there.
You can't sleep.
I'm gonna fix that.
That'll help.
Nendra doesn't need any help sleeping. It sounds like she can sleep.
Well, Shane's got it. Right. The EMT pathway program waiver.
So this is a discussion, I've reached out to Mrs. Stedman with our EMT pathway program. This is a great program. We're so fortunate to be able to have this program in our school where our students are able to learn medical technology and EMT, and it's a great program for them. I know I have a niece that took this program and she's done really well in college with this and moving along those lines. And so one of the things I have on a waiver, it was brought to my attention that we currently don't have any textbooks or anything to support the medical terminology class. And these are, again, I'm going to reiterate, college credit classes. And so when we hear the word college credit or dual credit, we should think this is stuff that kids are going to learn in college. Reason why what came to our attention is that when you have a medical terminology book, you also have pictures and images of the human body and anatomy in a medical situation that some people could see as inappropriate or pornographic. And so because the school board is required to approve curriculum and textbooks as they come in, I wanted to start the conversation. Again, it's not going to be a voting thing, and that there is a textbook that Mrs. Stedman has found that she would like to purchase and use in her classroom. But it will and does contain pictures of human anatomy and it's in a medical condition, and it has different things with that. I know that our board chair is an EMT and has gone through that whole process and recognize that. My standpoint as a superintendent is if it is a college credit course and we know that it's an EMT and that's the content, the kids that take that class, parents and those kids should be aware that these are the types of things that will be seen if you want your kid to be in that class. So I thought that one way to approach this is to create a waiver. Because there's also another portion of this, as I talked with Mrs. Stedman, that the kids are also given an opportunity to go on ambulance runs, and to be able to see, okay, is this like a job shadow type thing? And there's the potential that they will see some intense graphic images and situations. And parents need to be aware of that. She mentioned that she already does have a waiver for the kids to ride that. But I wonder if we look at that, we also include a statement that says, and the textbooks used during this class will contain these things. Do we have your permission for that? So I wanted some feedback from the board. I felt like that might be a way to go. But again, this is just a discussion. We're not making a decision today. What are your guys' thoughts when it comes to dual credit, potentially having these type of images with kids that are high school students?
I think it's good to put it out front so they just understand what you explained. And, these things are important. That's like what tennis is doing. We need more people. So I think it's a good thing, just so you definitely don't want to do away with anything like that, because that could start someone's medical career, basically. It could stem from that. So I think a waiver is a good idea.
Do these kids have to have a certain grade point average to qualify for this program?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think they have to. I think
The more
anybody
mature
else.
they are, the
But it's usually a
So the junior,
senior.
junior, senior. Well, what about biology? Don't they see some of
They
these?
do, but the biology books and things that I've seen, like they're mostly just drawings of it.
No
This book does contain actual pictures.
photographs.
Mhm.
Well, and the drawings in this book are more detailed.
But it's not in when I looked at that, and the board will have a chance to look at that. And also, if anybody's listening, any parent has the opportunity to come in and look at the book also. There's no, anytime we're looking at curriculum or anything, parents have the right to come in and look at it as well. And that's something that they could look at prior to signing a waiver. I just don't want, it's one thing is when we have the right tools in place to learn, it's helpful. If that's what they're really studying, it's not pornographic in the sense of it's sensualizing body parts. It's a medical way of looking at that.
I think any reasonable person would agree that if they sign a waiver, there's no problem. If the parents say it's okay for them to take that class, and this is part of it, then a waiver, just so we don't have any problems.
I think as long as you're being upfront about the information that'll be presented in the course, so that way they can make an educated decision. Do I want to go this route? Do I not want to go this route? Knowing what information will be presented, you're laying it out there so they can make a better decision, informed decision before the class even begins.
And that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping that we can, because that would be a surprise if the board, voted to say, yeah, let's allow this book to be used in our EMT medical terminology class. That book goes home and a parent's like, whoa, why is that in there? And that's another thing that there could be a chance that kids who aren't in that class see that as well. Like there's no guarantee, and that could come up as an issue.
The one thing we talked about was there's a part of the waiver that the students also have to sign that talks about the importance of the maturity and the mature content that they will be studying and their responsibility to handle that with maturity.
That's why I'm wondering if there isn't some kind of a screening.
That would be hard because then we start making a
Presumption.
and a judgment. I think that's got to be a decision.
So
it goes
this-
back to.
This living class, what is it called? The class where they have to wear a pregnancy outfit, and
One
that's
Yeah,
pretty
living.
mature
Yeah.
too, so they're
Yeah.
able to handle that.
Yes, and they are, and I remember in our biology classes we watched a live birth, and that's I think that's a requirement, and
Yeah.
it's real life. It's one of those things. It's not. It's real life, and it's one of those things
So I
that
could see that being a problem for some parents.
for some parents, and they can opt out. If any parent can opt out of any type of thing that they want
That's
to.
why we probably should have just a waiver for all kinds of things like that.
And I believe we do have a waiver already in policy that allows parents to opt out of any educational activity that they aren't comfortable with.
So this EMT class doesn't have a lot of students in it.
So what have they been doing for textbook up to now?
So
How many normal in the EMT class with?
around 10 max.
Yeah, so we're not talking a huge amount of kids.
No. What they've done in the past is she has a book, and then she would use that to either make copies or show them from an overhead projector.
And there is a textbook for
Yes.
the class, but not for the medical terminology.
Not for the medical terminology. They do have the EMT, the one that's about 5 inches thick. I saw that when Tanis was studying that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Did that everywhere.
I remember her saying, I'll never get through this, I'll never get through this. That's what you did.
And we don't want our policy manuals to be that thick.
No.
That's-
I'll keep that in mind.
Just one section.
I'll keep
So-
that in mind when I'm trying to figure out.
So I just wanted to bring that up to the board as just a discussion point to say we'll work on that. There are other questions. We will have that book available for the school board to look at, for parents to look at.
Can I ask you another question about that EMT class?
Yes.
It does have college credit with it, and college credit classes count for more as you're studying, or as you're looking for a valedictorian or a salutatorian.
Mhm.
So a person that goes out for EMTs has a distinct advantage over another person that doesn't, as far as having a higher grade point average. How does that equate?
And I'm not familiar with all of the details of GPA and valedictorian. That's something that I'll have to look into and see. And it's definitely something that Mr. Davis and the counselors we can look into and find the procedures for that. And you know, the board can have input for that as well. But that's something that I think just needs to be clarified and outlined. But I don't know exactly how that works right now.
I think that's how it works. And so those people that are trying to get all the other dual credit courses can never compete with those that are taking the EMT, because they take these and they take those and they have that much more.
And we can, when we go back into discussions on finalizing the graduation requirements, I think that's a discussion that we can include in that. Okay. That's going to be another part as we start this next school year to just make sure we solidify what are the graduation requirements. So thank you.
Get that,
I think that
after the
waiver's
blanket back there.
The waiver's a good direction to go. Start.
Okay, we'll keep going that direction then.
All right, continuous improvement plan.
All right, so this is what I alluded to in the superintendent. Again, this is going to be a draft. The continuous improvement plan is not due until October 1st, so I don't want to take a ton of time right today, but I just want to plant the seed with the
Before you know it.
with the school board. And so our last year's plan was a combined plan, and it looked like this to start off with. And they had the literacy plan and the college and career. But then I also had a strategic plan with that. Metrics and narrative. So this is what I'm going to propose as we move forward with the continuous improvement plan, that we just combine the continuous improvement and strategic plan. And the narrative would be the first part. Love our mission and vision as a district. We tweaked this just a little bit this last year with some of the groups that we met with. Small school, big opportunities, endless possibilities. West Jefferson students and staff, respectful, responsible, and ready. And so then this part just explains, as a small district, we have the opportunity to connect with students in a meaningful way. We really do. And through our education and learning, our students will have that ability to achieve their future goals. We want our students to really understand that academic learning is important, but if we have respect and we're responsible and we're ready, we're showing up to school, we're on time, those are the type of employers that you want to hire. We don't want employers, some of you are business owners, if they come and they say, I need you to work this time, and they say, oh good, I get 5 days off this season, I'm going to take all of them. Just because they're there, you don't want people looking for that to say, well, I can be tardy 5 times, and we don't want that to be the norm. We want that just to be part of the process, but we want our students to be responsible, engaged in their learning, but respectful to one another. And our society needs that, and we're hoping to encompass those characteristics as our vision. So, but then you'll see also that our district strategic plan goals will be included. And so these are the same ones, the goals that we had with that delivering a K-12 curriculum to prepare students for success in the work environment, college, university studies, and citizenship, fiscal responsibility, and having responsible oversight of the public funds, our school environment, safe, respectful, supportive environment for students, staff, volunteers, and patrons, and building a positive relationship and connections with parents and community members. I feel like our board has done a great job with focusing on these goals. All the work that we're doing it's connected somewhere in with these goals that we have. And highlighted the positive relationships that the school board has worked together. Again, even though we may not agree on everything, we still have the same focus that it's what's best for West Jefferson. So those will continue, and these will still continue to be a working document when it comes to the strategies and key actions, just different things that we've done, different suggestions that the board members can give to us as administration, and we can move forward, attracting, recruiting, and retaining high quality employees. Felt like we've done a great job this last year attracting really good employees into our district. Super excited about that. Our professional development, we have our professional days that are built into the calendar, focusing on mastery-based and blended learning options. Those are things where those have become part of our calendar, part of the things that we're looking at. And so, like I said, I didn't want to go over all of those today, but just to highlight that that's what the narrative will look like. The continuous improvement plan also has metrics, and this is one where the data comes in. And these are things that are not complete right now, because a lot of the data, again, as you see that it says draft, these are things I'll meet with our administrators on, but also get feedback from the district on some of our ISAT scores, where they fall. One thing that I did learn in the webinar that I watched, that we want to be careful about not having, even though this one does have 8th grade, we only have 4 8th grade teachers. And so we know that this data kind of puts a spotlight on them. The intention here is not to try to put a spotlight on individual teachers when it comes to these. That's more of on administrative level, as we work with teachers directly on their individualized goals. But it does help give us a guideline on where we're going and how we're progressing. And so the legislators asked that we have a section on adequate growth with the ISAT. That's a measure that we didn't have available last year. That's a new section. So as we look at this, the previous year is going to have NA, because we didn't have that as a goal last year, but we will make it a goal for the upcoming year when it comes to this side. But it will look at some ISAT scores, some literacy things from off of the IRI, the percentage of the IRI scores that we have, and those will come over here on this side once we get those all finalized and in. The district measurement is going to be for literacy is going to be on the 95% program. I visited with Mr. Johnson about this, and we'll be able to go K through 6 with that and just average the overall performance. So this is an actual number where we had last year with all the different metrics that we had between kindergarten and 3rd grade. We were hoping that 73% of the kids would meet those benchmarks. We found out that 71% of them actually did, and we're hoping that will grow. So that was actually pretty good for the first year after COVID. A lot of our kids are moving along well. This 95% program in our literacy program is going to be beefed up even more with the core 95, and so these are things that we're keeping an eye on it, and we're moving forward with it. Other metrics are on here are college and career advising. This is some data that I still need to look into and find. It's asking about the kids that have learning plans, which all of our 8th graders do. Our goal is that all of the kids have a chance to meet with the counselor each year, just to make sure that they're on track. That will continue to be our goal. We need to track down the go-on rates. Those are not available yet, but we will find those. And then the district measurements for college and career would be the number of students who've completed the FAFSA. That's information that we can get right from the FAFSA website, and those students who have applied for a post-secondary school. And we're hoping that 100% of our kids at least apply to one school. Then we'll have some narratives that we come in and we just analyze the goal. This is the last one is a new one, and this is one that talks about staff performance. And this is one where I will visit with our administrators on to figure out how we can do this without basically just putting up every single teacher's name on here. By law, they want us to have clusters. They call that an group, and the end group needs to be 5 or more. And so if we were looking at any of our departments in the high school, we don't have more than 4 teachers in a department. We don't have more than 4 teachers teaching a grade level. So I can't come in here and say second grade teachers, this is what they have, because it would be too close to identifying that, oh, it's these teachers here. So what we'll look at is utilizing the same K through 6 95% assessment screeners for those students. And then for our 7 through 12, we can have all of our teachers give a pre and post test. And then they can give us that percentage data, and then we can use it all. And so those are things that I think would fit for us. It's a little bit trickier if we use the ISATs on here, because again, there's only 1 or 2 teachers teaching a class, and it would focus in on it. So in a nutshell, that's just the preview of our continuous improvement plan. We'll talk about that more. It needs to be finalized, but that. So any quick questions on this one? Again, we don't want to, we will follow that back up.
I don't think it should be divided K4.
The reason why we could go
K.
K4, but our 7th and 8th graders aren't always doing the exact same 95%. And so then that would leave your 5th and 6th in a group, and there's only 4 5th and 6th grade teachers, which don't allow us to get into that.
So it works better with the teachers.
Yeah. And we will have other measures. These are just the basic measures that are on there. As administration, when we look at our data and our data teams, it will be by each teacher. And we will have those conversations with those teachers.
But not in front of a
But
board
we
meeting.
just don't need to have that in a board meeting setting and have that on our district level plan. So just because these are the metrics that are required by state statute, we go more in depth with our teachers specifically, and they have those in that data meeting. But again, they're not feeling like, hey, I'm in a fishbowl, just like we feel like we're in a fishbowl with our YouTube live and everything. But they shouldn't be in a fishbowl every single second that they're looking at data that's used for instruction. And so we have those metrics that help us learn and grow, but that's a really good question. But that's the reason why these are more broad.
So can we add this to our work meeting with our
Yeah.
policy?
But I feel like with this one, we do have the structure in place where we can just plug in a few different things. I'll be able to share this at some of the PA meetings as well. Just say, parents, what do you think? And if parents have some ideas, they'll be able to give it as well. Could, Madam Chair, if we, I see that Mr. Soderquist popped in. Is it okay if we jump to 5.7 first to allow
Let's do
him?
that.
He's a very busy man
Let's do
this time of year. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Soderquist in. Just want to talk about our bond election and the different things that we have on the bond, and then have any questions or comments from Mr. Soderquist as we move forward. As we know that, just to recap again, that over the past year, we've looked at and considered a lot of different options with our bond. With new projects that were combined with remodels, or just remodel projects only on that. And the board decided to also, in April, to go with just the remodel projects. Here's a copy of our bond flyer that we're working on to send out. You also guys have a copy in front of you as well. And it does have information in Spanish and in English with that. With the different projects that we have, and we're asking for 1.5 million on a 5-year bond with a 1% interest. Really great opportunity. The impact will be $98, which does put us with our 3 different projects that we have at $358, which is right in the range of our 10-year average. And so we're not asking for anything that's above and beyond anything that's been asked for in the last 10 years. But the bond levy equalization support program will cover 20% approximately of the principal and interest on that, which is a savings of almost $350,000. So really we're borrowing, again, if the community can get behind this and support it, we're borrowing 1.5 million and paying back 1.2 on that with the subsidy. And so, Mr. Soderquist, I invited you to come and just share your thoughts about the remodel projects and, different things on how you're feeling that. And if the board has any questions for you, they can ask you too. So I don't know,
Well, we just need to kind of catch up on stuff. Roofs and stuff was, of course, a priority in remodeling classrooms. But there's some other outside stuff that needs to be done too. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. I don't want to be the one to make all the decisions. I want you guys to help. Help make the decisions on what.
Larry, could you come up you could at least come up there in front of Mr. If you wouldn't mind, please. That way Nedra was having a hard time hearing you.
Well, it was that tripod.
No.
I like to see your face.
She likes to see your space. You were sitting in the back of the classroom.
She's gonna call you right over.
So, the roof projects, and we do have the roof projects on here. One of the concerns that we had as we looked at bids was the increasing cost
Right.
with that. And so that's, Mr. Burtonshaw, you asked the question, earlier, are we gonna have enough with the increasing costs on it? And so.
Well, I've heard that the material costs are starting to go back down again.
Good.
I think it's, they weren't selling anything.
Because it was so
too
high.
expensive, so I've heard that the costs are coming back down. But that could change.
Yes, so I know that the roofs, and we do have the roofs on the main gym and then the north side of the high school, and then the old high school gymnasium part. And that really catches us up for most roofs in the district for a few years. Is that what we were thinking on that?
You said PE building.
The PE building, main gym, yep, main gym on the PE building, above the old gym, and then on the north side of the high school.
Right.
And those roofs have lasted longer than the normal thing, but I hate to see leaks start to happen because those are hard to.
And we are getting a few, especially on the high school.
On the high school side. So if we could
And
get those.
Nothing's been done to it since I've been here, and I don't know how long before that, so.
The track rebuild project is one, and when we look at the track, you also have the track and then you have the field turf. In discussions in earlier meetings, we looked at, is this the time that we have to replace the field turf? As the track doctor came out, individual from that, and looked at our track, and then he had their track specialist online looking at that. We think we can get 5 to 8 more years out of our football field before it needs to be replaced. But the actual track around the football field needs to be done. So we were trying to balance, well, how do we do that? Because you could rebuild or retop. And what we looked at is if we do a rebuild right now on the track, and in 5 to 8 years down the line, we could come back in and do a football field replace and then a retop on the track, because it will get damaged a little bit as they come in and take that off. And so that gives us at least a straightforward plan on how to address that moving forward. Can you talk a little about the high school old gymnasium, some of your thoughts and plans for that?
Well, I think we need to redo the floor, throw away the bleachers we got, put some new bleachers in, and just, it's a great facility. We just, there again, other than refinishing the floor, nothing's really been done with it since I've been here. And there were problems that were existing when I came, not terrible problems, but dead spots in the floor and stuff like that.
Yes,
needs to be
how are you gonna
addressed.
combat those dead spot
We'll leave
repairs?
that up to
What
the
do you
floor
do?
people. They can get underneath,
And prop it up or
Well, they
something, or
can
what?
doubling underneath or something, or, I don't know what they're gonna do.
You're the specialist where they'll figure it out and
Right.
fix it.
Right. And they may even have to take some boards out underneath and replace them with new boards.
So some of the boards might have weakened and.
Right.
And we've talked in other meetings, and this has also come from some of our PAW meetings, that we have some pull-out tables in that old gym to use as a commons for the kids to eat during lunchtime. And that's something that we're also looking at. Then the baskets, another thing that we looked at has been requested. If we had a facility that had some adjustable baskets for littler kids to come and play, like we can look at our side baskets and see if we can get those where they'll raise and lower, which would allow for even some Saturday youth league camps things to happen during the winter, which I think would be an awesome thing. So there's a lot of great things that are planned for this bond. And I know other things that jump out to you, Larry, as you're looking at this bond on.
Well, that's why I want you guys to help decide. The list is endless of things that need to be done.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yes.
How are you gonna determine what is your top priority? And those things should go in the money we have.
I think roofs have got to be your top priority. Roofs, and then anything else that if you don't do, it'll cost you extra money down the road if you didn't do it.
Okay, so that seems to me, the plan is to prioritize, and if we didn't get the bond, then we do those things.
Right.
If we do, then we still do those things, and then the other things that we wish for.
Right.
And you say we have enough to fulfill all of that, both this money and this money too.
I didn't say that. I don't know how far it'll take you because I can't get anybody to actually commit to a bid.
Yeah.
right now.
And that's why as we're looking at the 1.5 that we're asking for,
Yeah.
and in this, we will be sending this out. Projects will be completed on a priority basis until funds have been depleted and or based on available products and services. That's the trickiest part. We know that we didn't want to jump into new construction right now, but as we look at the projects that are on here, these were the projects with possibly the exception of the track that we've been talking about, even with the potential of having the science wing built on. So we're not coming up with anything new. These are things that still existed even with that conversation. It's just that since that conversation began, our target with construction costs and availability has really, really changed. And so like if we don't get the bond this time, these things aren't going away.
No.
We still need to do those things. We're still gonna have some roofs that need attention. And
So that's our job then, is to prioritize what absolutely needs
Right.
to be done
and so
and separate that.
So these bullet points here that I have really are the priority to start off with. The safety, which would complete the internal communication system and focus on the upgraded door locks. That's one area that we need to hit right away. But then roof replacements is the next one on the list.
But you're saying you can't get bids on these because nobody will
We
respond?
won't do it within
They'll,
past 30 days.
yeah,
Yeah.
they might not even give you 30 days. They might say, if you agree today or within this week, then I can get you the stuff. But other than that, they won't say.
So what do we need to do as a board to help him to get?
If you bring your hard hat and your gloves, and we can.
I can do that.
It's really and Larry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Every contractor or anybody that we're subbing out any projects, they're in the same boat we are. They don't know the exact amount of the cost until they look at it right there.
Well, cost and availability.
And availability.
What you'd have to do is make a commitment and say, we are going to do this. We want you to buy the materials now. Then you could lock something in.
Yeah, and so we want all of these things to happen. And with the news that construction costs are curbing down just a little bit, that's promising. And so
Well, then we need to have special board meetings
To approve things on the go.
and approve them quickly,
yeah,
help you
But you gotta
out.
have the money.
Yeah, you gotta have,
So nothing.
Nothing can happen without the
I'm talking
bond.
about, no, you remember what I said about take the first things that are the most important and use our money that we already have for those and get started on them.
right.
And then if we get the bond money, then.
And we have been doing that.
Mm.
I think in the district, we have been doing that. Since I've been in here,
Right.
we've replaced a couple of different roofs that were leaking on students and on the kids. And that all came without a bond.
Mhm.
But we're maximizing that plant facility as much as we can. And
When
so,
you take a bus out of the plant facility and technology, there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of money.
That takes
there's not a whole bunch left for that. And so when you look at the projects that we have, yeah, we're doing the best that we can with it. It's just, there's not enough. We either have to increase our plant facility or have these bonds periodically to help catch up. And
So you're saying that we are in big trouble without this bond?
No, I'm not gonna say that.
Well, I am.
I think that, I think we would be further behind. It just pushes us further behind one more time. And somebody could come and say, well, why are you having safety things? You should have put it all into that roof. Like, there's so many different things. If you're looking at the history of the district, or at least when I look at the bonds and the plant facilities, there's only been a handful of bonds that have been passed in this district. And some of those were for the additions that we've seen in the late 80s, early 90s. Then you have the main gym in the 90s. And then you have the last one that was passed in 2015 for $900,000 for projects.
Mhm.
And without that $900,000 bond, we wouldn't have I think Mr. Soderquist was able to plan and contract out and with different things, knocked out like 20 classrooms,
It was 10
10
classrooms and a roof.
and a roof.
Yeah.
10 classrooms and a roof with that. But the plant facility that we have, part of that always goes to transportation. And so we would almost have to double, the plant facility for us to have everything that we need to have these continuous things. But the maintenance is the plant facility covers the bare bones.
If we didn't have the plant facility, we might as well not have maintenance people because there's not enough money.
There's nothing to do.
Yeah, and those previous bonds came at a higher interest rate.
They did.
This proposed bond at 1% is an amazing interest rate.
And
What can you buy in today's world for 1%
and the
interest rate?
the subsidy,
Nothing.
the bond levy equalization subsidy also didn't come in until the early 2000s.
Mhm.
And so that's something that will really, really benefit us to do it. But I don't know. But you're right, Nedra, the money's gonna be there and what, I guess you're gonna say, what can we do to get moving? I know as soon as we get the money available,
Mhm. that
we will look at the projects, and if we can move on roofs immediately, we can move on roofs as I've never been through a bond process, so I don't know. I know that after the bond's passed, we have to meet with our financial advisors. I don't know when the money is going to be actually available, but as soon as it is, we're going to want to move on these projects as fast as possible.
And that's what they said, even if it's in the winter time, if you commit to doing it, we'll buy the stuff and it'll be there when it's time to do it.
Might be a good time to buy it.
Yeah, and the construction's come down a little bit.
Well, and that is one of the reasons, and I'll put a plug into the availability of having an August bond election works out financially better for the district because we're able to get all the process done and then do the bids during the winter when the costs are lower.
Mhm.
And I know that was something that in this last legislative session, it was looked at taking that month away from districts, which I think could be not a good idea for that to happen. But that's me getting political for a second. Sorry, I'll stop. So any other questions for Mr. Soderquist?
What are you doing right now?
Building a countertop. You're welcome to come and see
Where?
in the art room.
Oh, in the art room. How's that coming along?
Part of the project's coming along good. Part of the project is just some of the stuff we were talking about.
Waiting for material.
Well, we were gonna polish the cement, and then when they went to polish the cement, the people that built the building didn't put the rebar deep enough. So the first thing that happened was we had a piece of rebar. So polishing the cement went out the windows. So we ordered a different kind of no wax flooring for it. And then they talked to Shane and wasn't gonna come in until October. So
So we ordered
a different kind, but we still have no commitment to when they can put it in. And so I'm trying to build the countertop. I haven't called the cabinet people yet because I don't want cabinets here without the flooring in. And so it's like a juggle.
I'm gonna just say last year was for COVID was a nightmare for us with the planning. Now that we've had a year and the delays and everything, this is a nightmare for Mr. Soderquist, but he's doing a fabulous job
I'm sure.
with that.
And they can't find people to work. People that need laborers, they can't find people to work.
So I noticed there's damage to the fence line.
Yes,
Is that in the works to be?
we're talking with how we're gonna deal with the trees. I'm talking with Gary and I think we both want all the trees gone, but I haven't confirmed that yet.
So who would pay for the removal? It would
Well,
be 50-50 with Gary and us?
That's kind of what I propose. Because it's been an ongoing problem. This isn't the first time it fell on the fence. And it's not gonna be the last time if they stay there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
That's good, yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Soderquist.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
All right, we'll go back to 5.5.
All right. Back. All right, thank you for I know that he was really anxious to get back, so thank you for being mindful for his time. 5.5, this is again, a draft plan for I've alluded to this, the ARP, which is acronym for one of the laws of the federal money, the ESSER plan. So just like the Safe Back to School plan, this is another plan that we will have to have in place by October 1st. And this is just a plan on how we're going to spend the money for the federal money that comes in. And like I said, this is just, I don't want to take a lot of time. I just wanted to plant the seed. With that is how do we reach out to other stakeholders to ask them for consultation on how we spend the money. And
just real quick, because we said talk about facility funds that we
Right.
do maintenance and upkeep, and then we say these federal funds are coming in. Let's just make the distinction.
we cannot use those for the buildings, and that's the crazy thing is they have it. You're gonna go, oh wow, look at all that. Why can't you just go fix the track with this? Why can't you fix the roof with this? And I'm glad, Madam Chair, you brought that up because we cannot. Like it is.
Very specific list of ways that we are allowed to use these funds. It must somehow be.
Absolutely.
Learning loss, COVID recovery.
Yep. So we'll answer all these questions. The 20% allocated for learning loss, that's going to be something that we really need to look into because there's a lot of available funds for that. But there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much that each of our teachers can do, and we can't open up heads and just dump in information and it's one of those things
But you can use it to pay for the materials it'll take to.
Yes, you can, but it's just finding the way to do it within the requirements. And so here's the other plan that we'll have some assurances on. Like I said, today's just the preview to it
So this has to be done when?
by August 1st.
Oh,
Not August, excuse me. October. Disclaimer, for some reason in my mind, growing up, I have always mixed up August and October. And I don't know, I don't want to put a blame on a kindergarten teacher or anything like that. I just, for some reason, there's times I'm thinking in my mind October and I'll say August.
So August 31st found you out trick or treating.
Trick or treating. Nope, and I didn't get any candy. Yes, October 1st, thank you. Yep.
Super. Okay, well, hopefully all the parents listening in, they'll perk up about this.
Back to school, like I said, the parents are getting excited for around the corner to send their kids back. So in the, like I alluded to in the superintendent report, we met with our administrative staff and our admin assistants just to get a plan on the basics on how we're moving forward. Last year was so crazy because we didn't know if we could have people even come in person to, like, I love where we're at right now. This is amazing. It's great to be here. So I put together this short little informational pages right here just to go out. We're super excited for the school year, and we are a small school with big opportunities, preparing students for endless possibilities. And so here's some basic information. So I have a chart here with some days of importance: what, who, when, where. As we've talked with Mr. Guimar about the registration process, we were brainstorming and thinking, what is it that causes long lines and issues and a lot of time at least the high school registration? And a lot of it deals with class schedules. That they come in, they can pay their required fees and their assignments, but it's the class schedules. So Mr. Guimar said, well, why don't I come in when I come in early, just open up my office hours and allow people to come in the 2 weeks before registration and take care of any schedule adjustments that they need. So seniors and juniors starting on Wednesday, August 4th, once they get their schedules, and if they have any issues with it, they can go talk to Mr. Guimar. They can go down and take care of that without having to go down and try to take care of everything all in one option. So that was really nice of Mr. Guimar to suggest that. Then the Monday following that, all remaining students, sophomores, freshmen, 8th grade, 7th grade, anybody that's looking at their class schedules can just come in and have questions to Mr. Guimar. They can still do that during the registration days, but that just would help hopefully reduce some of the bottleneck and everything when it comes to that. So that's your first two columns. Registration for all schools. And that's going to take place Monday and Tuesday, August 16th and 17th, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. These are some suggested times. We're going to let people come whenever they want. But if you're looking out there and you're like, I don't know when I want to come, and from 9 o'clock to 11:30, Tyson, all the Burton Shaws can come at that time. Maybe we should have just went A to B on that one and allowed the A to Bs to come during that time. But that would hopefully allow us to have some reductions in bottleneck. And that's just for the campus here at Tarleton. So grades 1 through 3 will be at Hamer. That's just going to be at the Hamer School for them to go in. Tarleton Elementary is going to be here in the district office gym, ALC gym, and the high school 9 through 12 will be at the high school for registration. And I put over here on this side the different things that will take place at registration is to complete required paperwork and update contact information. If you're a returning student, there should be fewer things for you compared to a new student enrolling in the district. Chance to pay fees for the extra activities like the lockers, the secondary students, your pay-to-play fees, things like that can take care of. For the elementary age, the supply lists will be given out, or if parents would like to, they can choose a convenience package, and that will be available for them as well this year. So you'll either have an opportunity to buy your own supplies or choose a convenience package if that's what you would like to do. I don't know if the convenience package is, if it's applicable for any 7th and 8th grade students. I didn't have that information available when I put this together. But that's what will take place during the registration. We really want as many people to come on the 16th and 17th, but if something happens, we'll work with people and make it happen for them. If if you're a Rigby and you're here on the M to Z, but you can only make it in the morning, we'll work with you, Andrea, on that one. You know, as your constituents, if they ask you, that's just, these are suggestions just to help us try to move that through.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
When they've offered the convenience package in the past, there have been some that have purchased the supplies and not paid the fee.
Mhm.
When their students show up to school, the students are given all the supplies. So how are they keeping track of that so that teachers don't overbuy because then parents aren't having
Having
to
to
pay
do
for
that.
that?
So part of that would
So-
just be making sure that we'll talk with Blythe, for example, and make sure that she communicates that with the teachers.
Okay.
The convenience packages actually benefit the district because we can buy in bulk. And so that's the one thing that we feel like it's a better option all around, but parents can choose either way.
Some parents have said, you know, my kids are bringing home pencil box after pencil box every single school year. Why can't I just send it with them again to use the second time around because it's not damaged in any way, or their scissors are still good, or why am I, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That's a good question. And I also think that some teachers like to have everything matching and looking the same
yeah.
and laminated. So just it's preference. Good question. And feel free to ask questions anytime through this. We will have a back to school open house time set up, and that's going to be the Friday before school starts, 1 to 3 o'clock. Teachers will be in their classrooms working, but we just want to have an open house format. There will be no formal meeting or anything where hoorah. But if you want to have a chance to come and meet your teacher before school starts, see the classroom.
Registration?
Teachers will not be at registration on Monday, but they will be in their classes working. We're hoping that parents can let the teachers work on that day and wait until that Friday if they need to visit with them. But you know, our teachers are very nice and kind, but at the same time, they're trying to work to get the classroom. But they will start back on the 17th. And then the first day of school is a Monday, August 23rd, and it will be an early release day on that first day. The goal of the first day is to kind of just get the kids through, especially the secondary students will be able to get to their classes, see their syllabus, get to know their teacher. The Territon campus is 8:10 to 2 o'clock on our early release days, and the Hamer campus will be 7:45 to 12:30.
Is it the same for high school?
Same for high school. Yep. Everything with that. So when I say Territon campus will be the whole West Jefferson Territon campus. And so just a couple of other things I wanted to highlight on the back to school information. Fee updates as per our board meeting in May when we voted on the pay to play for each sports will be $100 per sport. Cross country is $75. Activity cards are $40 for those participating. The activity cards for junior high, pay to play for junior high is $40 per sport, with also required $40 for 7th and 8th grade. In those junior high sports where 6th grade students play, they do not have to buy an activity card. They just have to do the pay to play because they'll fall under a different category with going to nighttime activities. So and I think that's only wrestling, track, and cross country, where 6th graders would fall into that.
How's this all going out?
Right now it's going out. We have thousands of people watching the board meeting, and I'm going to put this on an Ed Leo. I'm going to put this on an Ed Leo and just send it out. So that way, hopefully it doesn't catch people off guard, where again, I still look at even the pay to play of $100 for an entire season. At the end of the day, what's offered with the busing, the coaches that are paid for, like, this is a sweet deal. I know that, but for some parents, they say, well, that's really expensive. Yeah, we don't want it to be overly expensive, but as I see what parents and people put in for their summer camps and their different things and their city league groups that they go to, like, I think this is very reasonable, and it's something that falls within our small school, big opportunities, you know, for the kids to be able to do that. Pay to play for junior high. This was one thing last year that was a little confusing as we were transitioning with 7th grade sports being under the umbrella of the high school. those pay to plays for the junior high kids can be paid at either office. Last year, we were trying to encourage them to go to one or the other, but as we talked in our administrative meeting, pay where it's convenient. We'll figure it out on our end where it gets to. PA meetings, we will start those up. And anyone is invited to participate in PA meetings. You're welcome to come. 6 annual meetings, only going to offer the 9 o'clock in the morning meeting going forward, especially since we're going to have it recorded. So there's no reason to have the evening one. August 11th, September 8th, November 10th, February 9th, April 13th, and June 8th. You'll see that I have 2, one before school starts and one after school starts. Just trying to, give us an opportunity to gather some information from parents that want to say, hey, this is what I'm concerned about. It gives me a chance to try to help work things out a little earlier. And again, this process has been very successful and positive with the parents. We've been able to change things, like some of the suggestions on our calendar came directly from PA meetings. Some of the suggestions on the bond options with the commons area, that was a PA meeting discussion. The cell phone procedures that we put into place late last year came with a discussion in PA meeting for that to smoothly take off without an issue. So it really is a way for us to gather feedback on a lot of different things. I put in here some of the things that with the high school handbook, attendance, absences, tardies, Saturday school loss of credit, grading. Those are things that I've asked Mr. Davis to look into and work with his staff, getting feedback from staff members. But those are some procedures that we're really wanting to focus on this year to make sure there's clarity in everything that we're doing. Helping our students move past the impacts of COVID. Like we need to get our kids past that mentality of, I just want to wait until I can get everything either handed to me or find we want our kids to be able to do hard things. And I know I hear parents say that, our kids can do hard things. Well, if they can do hard things, why are you worried about this not going perfectly for them? Or, if this is an extra activity that you chose to be part of and it's not going exactly how it's going, there's going to be a lot of things in life that don't go the way they want it to. And I'm hoping that we don't want to take the approach of we're going to create hard things because we're jerks. We're going to create hard things because we hate kids. That's not what we're talking about. We want to have great opportunities for them, but holding kids accountable for attendance, holding kids accountable for tardies, holding kids accountable for the end of the term grades, that's real life. And we need parent support. And those are some things that we'll talk about in our PA meetings and just ask for that support. Yeah, we're not perfect, but any time that we come and try to if we're a parent or if we're a family that says, I think our kids can do hard things, do we really believe that if we're coming in and trying to clear out any type of obstacle that gets in their way? And so those are things I think that we have to ask ourselves as parents, So I want them to come with questions, solutions, and suggestions. If they're coming just to complain, I'll listen. I'm a nice guy, but we're not going to get anything done with that.
So does the state still pay by ADA?
In Idaho code, it is currently ADA.
So, and they lifted those restrictions last year, right?
Yep. So last year we benefited by having the enrollment, and so that again.
Are we back to the other now?
Right now, it has fallen back to Idaho code, which is ADA.
Okay.
The state board put out a notice either last month or in May that in their August board meeting, they want to re-look at enrollment. But again, that goes back to how do we plan for things, that's with legislative changes. We have 3 or 4 different groups who can make decisions, state board, the House, the Senate, different rules like that,
Right.
the State Department. on some of the reporting things. It just, and then you have the federal groups that can change things. But when it comes to ADA, right now, we're going to want to encourage, right now, we're going to want to encourage our students to be here. We need them here, not only for learning, but it really does impact us financially, almost to the tune of 1 FTE. So when we say FTE that we get reimbursed for, as we looked at that from the time that I started and different things where we were looking at attendance, and then into enrollment in the 2 years that I've been here, we've actually increased our FTEs by 2. The first year I came, it was at 35, and this last year was at 37 because of enrollment. So that tells us attendance is so important.
It is, but I'm surprised that they aren't still worried about COVID and its
Yeah.
effects and things.
It was just something that the legislators did not get to during their extensive session.
Pretty important.
No, it is for the funding portion of being able to predict and follow the things that are currently in place. Even with the current ADA format, it's still a guessing game and an estimate, because we project in April and May what we're hoping our attendance is going to be throughout the year. And then we plan and hire staff, but we don't know really until February of what our actual financial outlook is. And that's why you look at it, but enrollment would really change that, because enrollment would say, here are the kids that are enrolled. Here you go.
That may not really be good for us, but
Well,
maybe
there's
be easier.
there's a $900 million surplus forecasted right now for Idaho. And unless it goes all to tax cuts or to backfill discretionary cuts to our current budget, that could be something that they look at and say, we have the money to go to this funding formula right now. They could. But they could also say, let's figure out a way to do it different. I'm going to stop before I say more. They could. There's a lot of different things that it could go towards.
Okay.
It could go towards looking at allowing districts to go on the state insurance plan. Those are things that this extra money could go towards, but it depends on the priorities of those that are involved in that. And we will, like I said, we will do the very best. We have, like I've said before, we have everything. We have more money than we've ever had when it comes to teacher salaries, but we're still not funded for maintenance. We're still not funded for buildings, which again, if we're gonna circle back into funding, we're asking for a bond, but that's because we don't have those revenue sources available to us. But how do we get on that when we were talking about PA meetings? Attendance. Okay, it has a perfectly logical sequence with that. Attendance into that. Blended days. This is the last part that I wanted to have, because that is a new one on the calendar. The blended days are ones that, as a district, we're still going to work at and see exactly how this is. Secondary schools last year had a half an hour mentoring intervention hour. We felt like as we tried a couple blended days and experimented with them last year, teachers felt like they could provide better intervention on those fewer days throughout the year. And then it's one less transition for kids during the day. It's one less chance for kids to sneak away. We did have a handful of kids that utilized it really well every single time, but a lot of times kids saw that as, this is my break, this is my chill time. And so what we're going to do is on the calendar, and we'll see that, just highlight that as we're talking from the approved calendar with the amendment from that the gray sections on here, we're looking at the first trimester. We have 4 Fridays on the first trimester that are blended early out days. So what that looks like is buses will run as normal. It's going to be early out. So school will be in session from 8:10 to 2 o'clock every single day on those days. These are days near the end of the trimester, and the days will be on the early release days schedule. It's 12:30 out for Hamer and 2 o'clock for Tarleton. Blended learning days will allow students to be given alternate learning opportunities. Students can choose to stay home to complete these learning tasks or come to school. So that way, if a parent's going, my kid's caught up, but they love coming to school, guess what? You send them to school. They can come and do that alternate learning activity here at school. Whichever is more convenient for the parent or which is the best learning for the student. These learning tasks will be counted as attendance, and it will be tracked who completes the activities. And so
So there's the problem with attendance right there, isn't it?
what's that?
Is that students will be given the option
Well, on these blended days.
on these blended days.
on these
of
blended days.
having-
But
And all, staying home.
But students who are eligible to work remotely on these days are those who are not missing assignments, who are not missing learning objectives.
But their attendance won't be counted.
No, it will be counted. We can count attendance. If kids will stay home and complete the learning activity, they are counted as being in school.
Okay.
And so it still counts for that. So we didn't, and we can do that because we are looking at the standards-based and mastery-based learning,
Okay.
and these learning assignments are based off of that. So this is exactly what other districts have started going towards as well, and looking at. And so the difference is as we communicate this to parents, don't look at the gray days and say, that's a day my kid doesn't have to go to school. Because right now, we don't know if your kid is eligible to do work at home that day. So plan on sending your kid to school on the gray days unless you get a notice from the teacher. And that's what we say, students who are not missing assignments, who are not missing learning objectives, who are meeting attendance and tardy expectations. If you're tardy, guess what? You're coming to school on that day. We want this to be, because if you're tardy, you're missing school. So why should you get the privilege of doing an assignment at home? This is really only for those kids who are on, who don't have excessive absences, who don't have the excessive tardies. And so we're looking at a Saturday school option also for those that exceed those. But one of the things that when it comes to the absences, and this kind of goes back to the attendance policy, like I'm doing it, Nedra, going back to the attendance policy, just because somebody has 5 absences that are available to them, and let's say I have 5 medically days that I was sick. Yeah, we can excuse those 5 days, but that doesn't mean that student should look at that and go, but now I have 5 more days in my missed day bank. Like we should look at, they have 5 days. And if you exceed those 5 days, that's when we'll look at having a medical excusal. Those are the extenuating situations. Like if you miss, because I go to the doctor and I miss 3 days because I'm to the doctor, I still am okay because I'm under my 5 days. But we don't want somebody that misses 3 days of medical and then come back and say, I still have 5 days I can miss. I'm going skiing this weekend. I'm going to go do this on this weekend. And I'm out of here because I have 5 days. They didn't miss 5 days that trimester. They missed 8 or 10 days because of that. And so we look at it, you say you have 5 days. Anything above that can only be excused if it's this, and this. And it's going to be the same thing with tardies. Like as we're looking at this, you should have 5 tardies. I think that's reasonable. We have kids traveling from a long ways away. But if a parent calls in and says, hey, I need to excuse, and Shadrach's not driving yet, but if my son's driving, I'm excusing him because he didn't get it, that doesn't mean it's excused and we wipe it off. That just lets us know that as a parent, I knew where my kid was at. Then after we get to the 5 days, then we're going to look at it and say, I was sick. I was at this doc, that's a difference. Like, those are the things I think it needs to be more clear, because we have had kids that with COVID this last year, they took advantage of it by saying, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. They call the office, the parent calls the office, oh, they're sick. They don't do that. And so they miss 10 days of sickness. And then they miss 5 more because they can miss 5 days by the policy. And that has to stop. We have to move on from that. And so,
So when they want to do math, they can really do it.
and so so I can add those math things up, but those are the kids. If we have kids who are missing a days and they need to come on these blended days, that's not a day off for them.
Okay.
And it shouldn't be a day off to anybody who stays home. They still have their alternate learning opportunity. They still have a different thing that they have to do. And those are the things we're still working at, and we will be working with staff, brainstorming with staff, what that will look like. And it will look like at different things at different grade levels. So if you are parents that see those grade days on the calendar and you're like, I really want to go to St. George this weekend to ride bikes, you better make sure your kids are at school on time, better make sure that they're not tardy, and make sure they have their assignments in. Because if not, that counts as another absence towards it. And we're going to have things to say it counts. Because if we don't have it, and if it doesn't count for kids, they'll always push it off. And those are going to be the new employees. Those are going to be the leaders of our country. Those are going to be the mothers and the fathers. Those are going to be the workers in the different factories, and not factories, but also business owners. But we want, like, what type of student are we raising here in our community? And so those are things that we're looking at. So other things with students who are not given the option of going on from home, they will expect to be at school to receive focused instruction from the teachers. And if you think about the focused instruction, this is not a punishment to be at school, to be able to learn from a teacher. This is a blessing. It is an opportunity for us to really help the kids learn. And that's our whole purpose. You might even have kids who are on track, doing really well, and they want to come into Mr. Hansen's wood shop class and spend that whole day working on a project. Maybe they're in Mr. Bird's class working on a project. That's okay. That's what these days are for. It's for flexibility and for us to be able to reach out and do more than we could do in the half hour that we allotted to it each day last year.
So they can go to any teacher they need to go to.
Yes.
This is the same way
Yeah.
as we did before.
Yeah.
Only just
And this is one, and we do have Mr. Davis, I'm glad that you showed up today. This is one where we will need to figure out secondary students. Like if they have one teacher that they need to come in for, they could come into that teacher, but we would have to have a parent check them out before we let them leave campus. Once they come to campus, they really should not be excused without a parent.
okay. So they have to stay with us.
They would either stay the whole day, but if they've completed everything at school and they can drive, of course, that's not an option for the little kids, but we're not releasing kids unless a parent releases them.
Good.
Like that's regular procedure anyway. Students shouldn't be leaving campus. They should only leave campus at lunchtime from grades 9 through 12 because it's an open campus. But any other time other than that, any kid leaving campus, it should be through a parent.
So this teacher could have several students with different needs, all different needs when they come.
They
that
could.
way.
How I envision it is that we will still flow through the class periods. They will be shortened class periods.
Oh, okay.
And so if I'm a teacher that's teaching English and I have English first hour and I invited some kids to come in and they come to English first hour, they're with me. Second hour, other English kids could come in. Those kids could stay if they check in, if they have PE the next hour, but they're doing fine with PE. They could go to the PE teacher, say, I'm going back to Mr. Williams's English class, gonna do that. And so we have, the whole purpose of this is to have flexibility,
Okay.
kind of adjust we're looking outside the box of traditional schooling. Because in traditional schooling said, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, everybody has to transition.
Because I was really fond of that remedial class you had.
I in theory, I'm with you. I really liked it. the secondary, because of the things that I've talked about in the past, it wasn't as effective as
Just
we
didn't
wanted.
work. I'm really disappointed about that.
And maybe, I'm excited about this option. I want to try it and see
Well,
how
I
it
would love
goes.
to hear updates. on
We
how
will.
this is going.
Like, everything that we do, I'm always looking at, reanalyzing,
Right.
looking at it. If it doesn't work, we could, like as I said, if it's been made by man, it can be changed by man or woman.
Very good.
Mrs. DeGraw.
The one thing that we do have on those blended days is our paraprofessionals are coming in those days.
Mm.
And so they won't
Yeah,
be
everybody-
assigned
Everybody.
Everybody's
to their
working.
regular assignments. They'll be assigned out to teachers' classrooms to assist with that extra intervention.
Yep. Yeah, we have all hands on deck on those days. No one, we didn't develop these days to cut corners or to take away, trim hours on individuals. They're going to be there, and with the early out, it also allows them to coordinate with their departments. The special ed aides will be able to meet with Mrs. Dixon and be able to have specific training, other things that hasn't been available in years past. So we have a lot of really good options. Again, it's just taking the moment. Any other questions on blended days? I know it's not an all-encompassed one, but at least it will get the discussion out there to parents.
Okay, and finally, just a notice of quorum for the parade and the staff back to school meeting.
Yes. And I should have put in here the notices for Nedra to drive the stick shift
Right. Hold up the whole parade.
and hold up the parade.
Could
Put
happen.
her in a push button, shift car.
No, these are exciting. And then, Madam Chair, we will need to, as a board, decide. It would be nice if we could have a board member address the staff on that August 19th morning time. It's going to be about 9:00 is when that starts. And there will be board meeting that day also at 1:30
Mhm.
on that.
Mrs. Rigby had to leave on.
Didn't she do it last year?
I know you did it the year before that, didn't you?
Yeah,
It's getting really close to us again, Willie.
it's not close, it's here.
It's here.
This is it. Do you guys want to flip a coin or?
So whoever drives the car, whoever doesn't drive the car has to speak, maybe.
Okay.
And we're really looking for a 3 to 4 minute welcome back. It doesn't need to be.
Well, maybe Nedder and me could share.
I don't want to, you go ahead. Willie. Do it. As I
Go ahead.
recall.
Willie,
I
you're
recall
on.
4 years
Okay,
ago, it was
I'll
you.
go. I'll do it.
There we go.
And I think I told Tyson the first year, I think I even told him 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
And I think he took me up on it.
I'm pretty
What
sure
if
he
you don't
did.
want to, Willie, I will.
No?
Okay, go ahead then.
Okay.
Okay, we'll plan on Willie doing. Thank you, Willie.
Okay.
Do we need to schedule a work meeting?
We probably do, but when I look at the next few weeks in August, the first week of August, I'll be gone to Boise. The following week is the Fair Week.
Mhm.
I will hold a POM meeting on that Wednesday of Fair Week. The following week is, registration and board meeting. I think we could still push it out and just keep these things on our radar. We do have our timelines in place, like the August 1st, and I mean August this time. The August 1st back to school safe plan is done and ready to roll. I think we could look for maybe that first week of school, maybe the Thursday of the first week of school possibly, and because it's a work meeting, and I know you guys second crop could be done hopefully by then, but you might be in grain.
August is a really busy month for farmers.
Why don't you guys look at your schedules and we'll reach out to Mrs. Rigby just to get an idea. Maybe August 26th, that first Thursday, have a work meeting on that. So time to be determined, but let's plan for August 26th.
And one other thing I'd like to mention, we probably need to plan a Ed Foundation meeting
Mhm.
sometime next month, probably, because I remember Travis was had ideas on a fundraiser and we
That's
probably
right.
need to get something going.
Should we do it the 1st of September?
I think that'd be plenty of time because then we
First of
could,
September.
come out and
Then they've been in school 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
They may know more what they want.
on what they want to do.
So what are we kind of thinking on the fundraiser go? Because you gotta have something in place. Don't you?
I don't know. I know we talked with the fundraisers. Having,
If we start kind of a raffle deal,
I know the outdoor equipment raffle
Mhm,
with some really big gift card prizes was,
mhm,
I think that probably is the way we're going.
mhm.
So you wanna meet September 1st at 3:45? That's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday? Yeah, we can do that. We can let everybody know.
So when you address the staff, you can also let them know that the Ed Foundation would like your applications.
That'll take 30 seconds of your 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He only has 1:30 left.
We need more members in the Ed Foundation and we're looking for volunteers.
We don't want teachers though.
Your teacher can't be on there.
I need to go to like a PAW meeting, don't I?
Absolutely.
PAW meeting and make that suggestion.
Okay. Well, the floor will be open for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second. I'd like to make one real quick comment. I want to apologize for coming to the meeting wearing a hat. I don't normally do that. I had to get a pivot going this morning and I had to rush to the meeting, and so I want to apologize for that.
We'll take it.
I know wearing a hat, in a public meeting probably isn't.
No problem at all.
Isn't proper etiquette, so I just want to apologize for that.
Thank you for coming. I realize how busy everybody is. And so
Yeah, I
thank you
worked
for
out
your
on time,
service.
but I had to get a pivot started, so it's just part of farming, right, Tyson?
That's great for you.
Motion and second.
It's so hot out there. How do you stand?
All right, that motion's been seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned.